What's up, guys? Jake Disc Golf here, and today I'm going to start a little bit of a series on how I went from throwing less than 300 feet to up to 450 feet. And I did this within a year. So I think there's a lot of beneficial things that necessarily aren't being taught, and I kind of want to just shed some light on what helped me personally. I can't say everything's going to work for you, but I want to kind of provide a little insight on what has changed throughout my form and my mental space to what pushed me to throwing a little bit farther. So today's episode 1, and we're going to be talking about one of the things that I think is the most important thing for more of the intermediate players to kind of get a little bit extra distance from the 25 to 50 feet. This isn't what's going to push the person with a bad form throwing 300 to 450. It's kind of helping the guys who already understand their form and kind of pushing to that next level, breaking that ceiling. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm eventually going to go all the way back to my form and kind of show what I was doing wrong and how I helped fix that quickly. Now, this, like I said, this tip's going to help the people who already have their form established, who are kind of already throwing that 375 to 400, or even, people who have solid form, basically. I'm going to leave it at that. It doesn't necessarily matter the distance they throw, but once you think you have a solid form figured out, I think this tip is going to kind of elevate a lot of players and kind of open their minds up a little bit. Now, what I'm talking about is disc selection, right? Someone who has perfect form throwing a very overstable destroyer will be able to throw it, X amount of feet. And that same person will be able to throw a wraith, I believe, farther than that. Why? Because the disc is less stable. It wants to glide more. It wants to kind of finish the flight more. I see a lot of problems, especially with these people who think, I need to throw a destroyer, I need to throw a Zeus, D3, you name it. They have to throw the generic 12-speed destroyer type disc because that's what the pros throw, and that's what I need to throw. And I don't think that's very beneficial. I was one of these people. I needed to throw a destroyer because Paul McBeth threw a destroyer, and I think that hindered my distance from the beginning because I was throwing 300 feet, throwing an overstable destroyer, and obviously that's not going to help my game. Now, I can't give you specific disc selections, but one that really elevated my game was now throwing the Wraith. I can throw the Wraith farther than any other disc I've thrown by up to 50 to 75 more feet. And that's because the disc is less stable. I figured out how to get the full flight of a disc instead of trying to crank on destroyers, giving it Annie, trying to do all these wacky things, or just letting it fade out and kind of wondering why. It's not necessarily because I'm throwing the disc wrong, but because the disc reacts a different way, in a way where it wants to fade, because it's an overstable distance driver, right? But we can go through wraiths, we can go to turns, we can go to, you name it. And those discs will have more success with you, and I'll show you right here. I'm going to throw these discs the exact same way, and there's only going to be one difference between the two, and I'll let you guys think right now what that difference is. All right, could you guys figure out the one thing I was doing different? Well, it comes down to one easy solution, and I'll show you right when we get to the discs. Here's the destroyer. Here's the Wraith, probably over 100 feet away from that destroyer. The one thing I did was I changed discs. I used a less stable disc to get the full flight of the disc that it wants to fly. That's literally the only thing I changed. And also, I did kind of cheat. I did put the destroyer a little bit more Annie, so it got a little bit more distance than what it really should have. So I really should have thrown the Wraith even farther. Like I said, this solution's only going to fix people who are throwing the more overstable discs. If you're already throwing the disc that are suit your arm speed, there is more things that can be done, and I will make videos on that later on that helped me, of course. But yeah, this is one of the biggest things that helped me right at the beginning. Throwing to destroyers to going to FDs, T-birds, leopards. That really kind of started to evolutionize my game until I started to figure out my arm speed, get a little faster, fix my form a little bit more. So this is a really big change on just evolutionizing your game, like in all honesty, because you're throwing these overstable discs and you can't get the full flight of them. What's the point of throwing them? You can throw so many more discs better. So that's just one thing, and this isn't I'll show you again. This isn't just a fluke. This happens consistently, throwing less stable disc farther. I gave it Annie again. as you can tell, guys, a big factor on throwing farther for anybody who's throwing a little bit too stable, a little bit too fast discs, is to just switch the disc. Try something else, try something new, try something less stable, because that's really what's gonna help you throw a little bit farther. And I see this in so many people. It's such a common occurrence to see people throwing Destroyers, Zeus, DD3s, you name it, because that's what their favorite pro throws. And we have to realize, we don't have the arm speed like these pros. We really don't. So why would we expect these discs to do the same thing? And it's a lot of people trying to force these discs to work by giving them ante, trying to do these weird things with them where just switching the disc could just be that easy solution for them. So definitely go out and try something a little less stable. You can find it, ask someone for help. Like I said, something that really changed my game was going from Destroyers to Wraiths. Getting that full flight really got me more distance, as you could tell. So guys, if you did enjoy this video and you want more tips, like I said, this is only episode 1. There are some form changes that really helped me out too. So episode 2, I'll go a little bit more in depth on that. So guys, if you did enjoy this, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell so you get notifications on all the new videos. As always, guys, make sure to keep throwing.